Okay. All right. Again, good afternoon. Live stream started. We're in the meiosis. So we did mitosis and now we're doing meiosis. So look at that. It's a CR module. It says meiosis lesson, but we're going to do it in Nearpod. So as soon as I get, I'm gonna wait on two more people, give them another minute. Get Go Guardian started. Then I'll send you the link for the Nearpod. Okay, just a heads up that I had to mention with my other class, you guys are pretty good, so but I'm gonna say it anyway. Um, with folks who, when I'm looking, I do attendance by Go Guardian, so I'm looking to see who's offline and who's online, and also if for those people who log in and just let it set and to say that they're logged in, if it and because it'll tell me idle for so many minutes. If you've been idle for 20 minutes and you're not in class, you just open the class just to say you for attendance purposes, but you can't get anything done by just logging in. So when I see it like that, I go back and mark you absent. Okay, so logging in and then being idle is not present. So be present. Like I said, I know you guys don't do that. I got like the two people who are missing. They're usually the guilty ones of this, but just a heads up that if I pop back to Go Guardian and it says been idle for 40 minutes, that means you haven't been in class at all. All right, so right now, all of you lovelies who are here should be looking at the meiosis section in Canvas. And I'm going to do attendance. I'm going to All righty. Good afternoon, Andrea. We're looking at the meiosis unit in Canvas. Meiosis. We did mitosis, and now we're looking at meiosis. All right, so according to this, I only have two people absent. And everybody's going to go to your Canvas page and look at meiosis while I do attendance. Mhm. All right, and again with these Nearpod lessons, they produce a report for me of who's participating. Yes, go ahead. Who's participating and who is not. And when they ask questions, I expect to see total participation. All right. Just put the link for the Nearpod in the chat. So go ahead and log into that. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the share. And I did do a teacher mode. I'll give it one more minute, make sure everybody's in. And I think somebody went to the restroom. Wait for her to come back. Another reminder that everybody should be on camera. All right, so as we go, well, while we're waiting on that person to come back, let me pop over here for a second. All right, what the important thing, this chart right here in Canvas is a good thing for you to become familiarized with, because you always want to compare mitosis with meiosis, what's going on. And the big deal about meiosis is it does both. So it has two phases. The first phase basically does what it does in mitosis, and then those two cells that are created divide again. So where you started with 2 cells, then you end up with 4. Right. I think she's back, so we're going to go ahead and get started with. So jot down a few notes as we go along. I'll pause it. Well, it pauses itself to ask questions, so please make sure that you are participating in the questions.
How did you end up with your dad's smile while your nose looks exactly like your mom's? Today, we'll be learning about the process of meiosis, from its many stages to the role it plays in determining our traits. Meiosis, unpacked.
All right, so go ahead and answer that first question. And I just asked you all to read over that period, so there got to be something that you picked up that you know about meiosis. I'm looking for a response from everybody. Okay, LaCoria, you got the link for the Nearpod? Okay. All right, Kayla, where'd you go? All right, again, I'm looking for an answer from everybody. There's 7 of you logged in, so I need 7 answers. All righty. I got nothing. So that means you didn't do a little glance at the page before class started. I said, why are you waiting? Take a look at the page. You should be looking at the page. All right. Well, you can't say nothing because we're almost to the end of the unit and we have to do a quiz. So Wednesday, I don't see y'all because you have Shine. But when I do see you next, we will look at comparing mitosis and meiosis in a quiz. So please make sure you're paying attention. Think you're taking notes and you're looking at your notes after you. Okay. That's a good answer, Kendall. All right, Jacoby, nothing is not a good answer. So we're gonna work on that. So, all right, let's go.
Most cells clone themselves through mitosis, which replicates a cell with a complete set of 46 chromosomes, called a diploid, into 2 identical daughter cells.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it there. That's one of the things that you need to remember. And again, vocabulary. You need to know that mitosis creates diploid cells. That means that they have the double number of chromosomes. When I say double, the diploid is actually the normal number of chromosomes, okay? And the cells are identical. So diploid is normal, and for us, it's 46 is our diploid number. And it creates 2 cells that are identical. That means they have exactly the same kind of chromosomes in each cell that is created.
But meiosis has to do with some very unique cells, or gametes, or sex cells. In males, these are sperm, and in females, eggs. Since offspring are produced when the 2 combine, if our gametes underwent mitosis, you'd end up with twice as many chromosomes as you actually need. Instead, sex cells reproduce through meiosis. During meiosis, a single specialized diploid cell divides twice to produce 4 cells containing half the original amount of the genetic material, so 23 chromosomes in total. The resulting cells are called haploids, and each one is genetically distinct from the others.
All right, I paused it there so that you could write that word haploid cell. For us, it's 23, so our 46 becomes 23. Haploid cells have half the normal. So again, diploid is normal. Haploid is half the normal. So again, every species has a different number of chromosomes. So half the normal is whatever is normal for that species. Okay. So take a minute. What would happen? And she did tell you this. What would happen if the egg and sperm underwent mitosis? I remember the egg and sperm are gametes. So if we already have an egg and a sperm, and our gametes are haploid cells, what would happen if those cells underwent mitosis? Is what it's asking you. Mhm. All right. So during mitosis, the chromosomes duplicate. That's the problem. The chromosomes duplicate. So that means instead of having the haploid number, they would end up with the diploid number. And the problem with that is the egg unites with the sperm and they combine their chromosomes. So if each one of those was going back to being a diploid number, and when they combine, we would have twice as many chromosomes as we're supposed to have, or the resulting cell would have twice as many chromosomes as it's supposed to have.
Though meiosis differs from mitosis in a number of ways, it actually involves all the same stages, just repeated twice, in order to produce double the number of daughter cells. But before we get started, we have to go through interphase 1, during which the DNA and protein floating around in the cell's nucleus clump together to form chromosomes, then duplicate themselves, creating 2 copies of each strand. Every single chromosome then links up with its duplicate to form an X-shaped double chromosome. When 2 chromosomes are connected like this, each half is called a chromatid. Next comes the first real.
All right, I did want to go back just a little bit.
Each half is called a chromatid.
All right, so you've got a chromosome that made a copy of itself, and it connects itself to its copy. Okay, so each one of the copies is a chromatid. So again, vocabulary. You got to know the difference between a chromosome and a chromatid. And they're held together in the middle by a centromere. So all these C words, you got to remember what they are.
Next comes the first real stage of meiosis, prophase 1. Each double chromosome lines up next to its homologue. In other words, your mother's and father's versions of the same chromosome.
All right, so that's a vocabulary word that you have to write down. Homologue, and you'll see it again in a little while. Homologue. That means each person has one chromosome from the parent, from mother, and one from the father, but that particular chromosome has all the same genes on it. So you have a chromosome that codes for maybe height and eyes and ears, and then another chromosome that talks about your skin and intestines and things like that. And then you have other chromosomes that code for other parts of the body. The ones that code for the same parts of the body, I'm sorry, my mic's up in the air. The ones that code for the same parts of the body are homologs. So they're going to line up with each other. Okay, we're not mixing it all up as far as the one that creates arms is going to match up with the one that creates eyes. That's not what's happening. The ones that make arms are going to line up, and the ones that make eyes are going to line up, the one from each parent.
At this point, one chromatid from each double chromosome crosses over to the other and reattaches a portion of itself, trading sections of DNA. The swapped segments come from the same location on each chromosome.
All right. The other one that here she's calling them swapped segments. When we go back into Canvas, they're going to also call it crossing over. So you need to know what crossing over is. And again, it's the same part of the chromosome. It just switches places at that part. So the variation for one part is switching places with the variation of the same part on the other chromosome.
So one might be giving up its genes for, say, height and getting the other chromosome's genetic code for that characteristic. Since the 4 chromatids swap sections of DNA at random, they're all different from one another.
Okay, so let's answer that question. Give you a minute to do that. How is the swapping of genetic material related to heredity? Because they swap, how does that affect how you look? Or what you inherit? And again, I'm looking for an answer from everybody. I don't know is not an answer, because we're all paying attention. I still got no answer from everybody. Come back and sit. Uh-oh. Guess I shouldn't have did that. Is that the same code that I gave you? Yeah, it is. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right, come on, folks. Y'all got to participate in a timely fashion. And that means we're not giving you time to go look up the answer. Y'all got to listen, and because I'm not looking for complicated answers. We just want, what did she say? All right, we got something. That looks like a looked up answer. Okay, Jacob, I like that. They won't have identical chromosomes as their parents. In other words, if you got all your genes from mom and all your genes from dad, and then whichever one is dominant, you still would have some variation. You say mom's genes are dominant to dad. You wouldn't look exactly like mom because you're going to get some characteristics from dad because of crossing over. Okay? Because of crossing over. Again, folks, y'all got to pay attention. Pay attention, pay attention. I expect an answer from everybody. And like I said, it is generating a report. So down the line, I'll still know who answered and who didn't answer.
The next 3 stages are a bit simpler. During metaphase 1, the newly reconstituted homologous chromosomes move to the center of the cell before anaphase 1 pulls them apart. Finally, with telophase 1, the double chromosomes begin to uncoil, and a new nuclear membrane forms around them. Then a crease called a cleavage develops between the two cells, and the two nuclei move apart from each other, eventually splitting apart in a process called cytokinesis. And that's the end of round 1 of meiosis. We now have 2 haploid cells made up of unique genetic combinations from the original chromosome pairs.
All right, you need to remember PMAT. PMAT is your acronym for getting the phases in order. Definitely a test question. All right, see what we got. And y'all can't always wait till I show the answer before you start submitting an answer. All right, so you want to know, remember, interphase is not part of mitosis or meiosis for that matter, even though it is the important stage to happen. It is not, it is not the first stage. Again, PMAT, you need to think of PMAT. When they ask you what is the first, what are the stages, PMAT is what you want to think of. So you want to think of P for prophase, M for metaphase, A for anaphase, and T for telophase. So that makes C the correct answer. Okay. All right, so again, PMAT, think of PMAT. And in this case, we do PMAT twice. So that's why it says phase 1, phase all the way across, because then we're going to have a phase 2.
At this point, we're only halfway through the process. We still have another 2 cells to make, so it's time for prophase 2. First, the DNA and protein in the 2 daughter cells coil up to form double chromosomes, like the original cell did way back in interphase 1. Then, in metaphase 2, the double chromosomes move toward the middle of the cell, and in anaphase 2, they're pulled apart into individual chromosomes. And that brings us to the final step, telophase 2, which goes down exactly as it did in the first round, with the chromosomes drifting apart, then ultimately separating via cytokinesis. So, from one original cell with 46 chromosomes, we now have 4 new cells with 23 single chromosomes each. In males, each one is roughly the same size, with slightly different genetic information. But in females, the process results in just a single viable egg. Back in telophase 1, more of the original cell's features, like the cytoplasm and various organelles, are transferred into just one of the daughter cells. The same thing happens in telophase 2. So even though meiosis in females still results in 4 daughter cells, only one ends up with all of the other cellular stuff that it takes to make an embryo.
All right, answer the next question. For males, what are you going to get? And in females, what are you going to get? In other words, what is the end result for males in meiosis? What is the end result for females in meiosis? Okay, so A is the correct answer. And you're going to get 4 sperm cells that function. The word that she used was viable. That means they are capable of producing life, and 1 functional egg cell. Even though the egg divides into 4, only one of them has all the material and the other ones are going to be discarded. So there's 4 sperm cells to every 1 egg cell. Right, and we're still getting 2 people who are not answering, folks. I shouldn't have 14% no answer.
Let's recap. Meiosis is how our sex cells replicate themselves. It involves 8 phases and produces 4 cells, each of which contain half the amount of genetic information as the parent cell. And since that information is swapped randomly between chromosomes, it ensures that no two family members are exactly the same.
All right, so this is just a personal reflection question, so go ahead and answer that, please. Think about it. Think about it. What traits do you share with members of your family, and what traits of yours are different? All right, who do you most look like, mom or dad, and what traits are different about you, even though you mostly look like one or the other? This is a you question, so everybody should be able to answer this. Okay, oh my goodness, folks. All right, LaCoria, I like that answer. Mom has a mole and you have a mole. Oh, you have freckles like your father. Teresa. Okay. Both of their eyes are hazel, but somehow. Okay. Because brown is dominant. They have hazel eyes as a recessive trait. And we're going to talk about traits and how that happens. So that does make you different. But they still gave you that gene for brown eyes. All right. Kendall, you know, have curly hair, but mine is brown. Okay. So that's how, so again, everybody needs to say how you're the same, how you're different. All right. Andrea, same eye, sense of humor. Birthmarks. Okay, cool. Jacob, I have brown hair, blue eyes. I have a mini fro. Okay. All right, Kayla and Jacoby. Come on now. And Malia. All right. Take a minute to think. I'm going to go ahead and end this, but you can still add your answer even though I'm ending it. All right. So, I'm going to go back to our Canvas page. And again, the review part is very, very important. So you want to, again, look at, so there's our PMAT across the top. Cytokinesis is not part of PMAT. Mitosis, both mitosis and meiosis. The PMAT is just the prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase part of the activity. In other words, it's only what the chromosomes are doing. Cytokinesis is the cell dividing all the other stuff, the cytoplasm, excuse me, the organelles, all of that is cytokinesis. That's not mitosis or meiosis. So you have to remember that the difference between mitosis and meiosis is the first stage is mitosis, basically. It does exactly the same thing it did in mitosis. So you need to be able to look at the pictures and tell what's going on. If they just give you a picture, and they will, you need to be able to say, I know what phase this is by what's happening in the picture. So your matching activity is match the activity with the picture. Okay. All right. So prophase. In meiosis, and this happens in meiosis and not mitosis, and that's one of the review questions in a little while, is that there is crossing over. So again, in the video, she called it swapping. Most biology programs call it crossing over, okay, which is the process of exchanging genetic material between like chromosomes. They're not swapping all over the place. The two like chromosomes that are lined up, they will swap sections. So like for example, they were showing one chromosome might have the gene for tall, the other one might have the gene for short. Uh, uh, those are the chromosomes that are going to line up next to each other and they may swap. So where mom might have been short, the gene for tall might have been swapped out, and that's the chromosome that you get, the one with the tall, even though it's got all of mom's other characteristics. She's short, but then you got the one for tall because of they swapped. All right, next, metaphase. And here again, the chromosomes are going to line up in the middle. So everything in prophase, the nuclear membrane is breaking down. The chromosomes are getting themselves prepared to line up. So in metaphase, they are lined up in the middle. And you just need to tell yourself meta, middle. Whatever they've done it already. They've copied already. They've swapped already. Now all they're doing in metaphase is lining up in the middle. All right, and that's important because if you look at that picture, you've got some yellow, orange ones and some blue ones, and the orange ones are from one parent, the blue ones are from the other parent, and they're still together. They're still two together, but when anaphase comes along, when they're pulled apart, notice the orange ones are going one way and the blue ones are going another way. So that when you get to telophase, you have one nucleus forming that has the orange ones and one that has the blue ones. All right, so in telophase is again, the nuclear membrane comes back and it starts to form two cells again. All right, and so it's important it created two cells, but it's got the two cells with still half the number of chromosomes, okay? The haploid number. Then you come down to phase 2, and those two cells that you just created are now going to divide again. Okay, so these two cells are going to do exactly what they did before. The chromosomes are going to, like ones are going to line up in the middle. And then they're going to, I'm going to click on that one. All right, so then you have prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, etc. Just like you had before. Each of the two daughter cells are going to undergo the division again. And though because there's two of those and creating two new ones, you're going to end up with 4. But they only have half the number of chromosomes that they had in mitosis. And these are only happening in the gametes. The rest of your body cells do mitosis. This meiosis only happens in egg and sperm cells. All right. There was, let me see here. Something that I wanted you to write down. Okay, that wasn't it. I don't think I showed the Amoeba Sisters one, but there was a chart that I wanted you to write down. All right. The other word that so again, the vocabulary words that you need to look for are gametes. Gametes have haploid cells. Somatic cells are your body cells, and they have diploid numbers. Okay? All right, so know the difference between haploid cells and diploid cells. Also, if this does not do what it's supposed to do, then the cell that you create will not have the correct number of chromosomes, and then you have non-disjunction. So that's the next vocabulary word you need to be aware of, non-disjunction. All right, so when you get the pulling apart section, sometimes they don't want to leave each other. So you end up with one side having one chromosome and the other side having two too many, having three instead of having two and two, you might have three and one. Okay. So these are the diseases. You need to know what these diseases are. So we're supposed to have 23 pairs of chromosomes, but in Down syndrome, they have 21 pairs. So there is a set of chromosomes that are singular, that are not paired up, and this is what causes the problem in Down syndrome. Trisomy deals with the sex cells. Although if the body cells don't, with Down syndrome, it's the body cells. With trisomy, it's the sex cells. So you're supposed to have X and X or X and Y. They have XXY. So that's why there's 3 chromosomes that line up that are not supposed to be like that. And monosomy, you can have just 1 chromosome instead of having the 2 that 0 means that there's a chromosome missing. It's not really a 0. It means there's a chromosome missing. Okay. All righty. This young lady, she is so wacky. I am going to skip her. Okay. And we're going to, no, okay, I'm going to just let you read these questions over, and I'm also going to let you go through these questions right here. So take a few minutes to read this section, review this section, and answer these questions, then submit. All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. So everybody should be doing the little quiz. Everybody. Actually, when you finish answering those questions, log into the Nearpod that I just sent you. Actually, don't log into that one. I'm going to send you the code for you to do the student self-paced one. That one is teacher led. So don't log into that one. Okay, and I didn't send it to everybody. I just sent it to one person. All right, this one, this one is going to come to everybody. All right, so the one I just sent everybody, that's the one you want to log into, the one that ends in 3Q8DV. Everybody log into that one. All right, so the questions on this one are more like a quiz or a test. So I do need everybody to answer them. All right, so again, stop what you're doing. Log into the Nearpod that I just sent you. Got 4 people, need 3 more. All right, once you're in, this one is self student pay, so you need to just continue on. All right, Jacoby, waiting on you. Again, so once you're in, just continue on and okay, basically you want to start at slide 7. So you can kind of skip your way to slide 7. And start from there. All right, if you're still in Canvas, come out of Canvas and just work on the Nearpod. You should be able to finish this activity before class ends. Don't forget to answer the participation question. It won't let you go forward till you do. I don't have it. You can't just have the Nearpod open while you're doing something else. You got to complete this. This is your grade. Everybody should be participating, trying to complete this Nearpod. Mm. All right, folks. 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Uh, I think because you all are doing a self-paced Nearpod, you should, if time runs out, you should be able to continue it. So just don't close it. Because when you're doing student pace, it doesn't matter that I have it open. It's so if you don't close it, you'll be able to finish it. So if you have to leave it open and leave it for later, please do that. But I do want you to finish it, especially since I won't see y'all on Wednesday.